Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to TCTV, your global news channel. We come to you guys with some breaking news from the nuclear talks between the US and the Islamic Republic of Iran. Despite the fact that they told us that today the fifth round of talks in Rome was going to give us a result and a deal, well, it has once again failed. This is despite the fact that last week the Islamic Republic stormed out and cancelled the fifth round. Then they came crawling back to the United States and they asked Oman to mediate today, Friday the 23rd of May in Rome. The talks didn't last that long. It was very short. The US representative and envoy Steve Witkoff actually left abruptly quite early. And obviously the statement, the official statement from both sides was, yeah, they were still constructive. But there was supposed to be a deal. The deal has not been made. You're going to have to wait again. Meanwhile, the Israeli Defense Forces are on standby to strike the Islamic Republic. Of course, that all depends on the reaction over the next few hours and few days in terms of what the Americans are going to be doing with these talks. Let's give you guys the updates first. The Foreign Minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, was left waiting for about 2 hours. Now, first things first, Steve Witkoff and his team, the US envoy, abruptly left and exited the talks in Rome after a brief session. So he left after just 2 hours. Now, he mentioned that, oh, something has come up. There's a scheduling problem in the diary, and he has to get a flight back. Obviously, the session was supposed to be a bit longer than that. So he left early. It's still slightly polite and diplomatic about it. Having said that, the officials said that we were expecting to get some sort of deal, but that didn't happen. But the conversation was still constructive, right? Same thing that you heard in the first round, the second round, the third round, the fourth round, every single time. Now, one of the main issues that we have at this point is what the Israelis are going to be doing. Now, this round resumed after Oman once again asked Iran to return to the talks. Last week, the Iranian regime left. Now, Witkoff's meeting with Mossad chief, the head of Mossad in Israel, caused a bit of a delay. So he was already late to the meeting because he was having a meeting, because Witkoff was having a meeting with Mossad. Now, that doesn't make the Iranian regime feel too good. And I mean, from the perspective of the Islamic Republic, you're saying we're waiting here in Rome. We begged Oman to bring us back, basically. And now Steve Witkoff is late because he's having a conversation with the head of Mossad. And then he had to leave early. So essentially, Araghchi had to wait for some time. Well, about 2 hours. 2 hours and 20 minutes, right? And then, the talks just lasted about a couple of hours anyway. Witkoff departed 15 to 20 minutes early. And the US team, the rest of them concluded the rest of the talks with Araghchi's representatives. So there were no direct conversations at the end between Steve Witkoff and the foreign minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi. So that's not really good for the Iranian regime. They've already been slightly scared about what's going to happen, because if the moment the Americans say enough is enough, obviously the Israelis will strike. But that's not going to happen, because the Americans know that the IDF is ready, is on standby. And the Americans don't want the IDF to hit Iran before the Americans have given green light, because President Trump will be seen as, well, you didn't do it without giving my permission. So if that moment somehow happens and the Israelis decide to strike Iran, whether it's tonight, whether it's tomorrow or next week or whenever, President Trump is not going to be happy. This is publicly, on the surface, the way they want us to think, President Trump will not be happy, because they say, well, we're still trying to get some sort of deal. Now, the foreign minister of Oman, Al-Busaidi, said that the fifth round of Iran-US talks have concluded today in Rome with some but not conclusive progress. We hope to clarify the remaining issues in the coming days to allow us to proceed towards the common goal of reaching a sustainable and honorable agreement. Now, this was a diplomatic way of basically saying, well, we were hoping to get a deal, didn't really work, let's try again, why not have the 6th round, right? The problem here is that the Iranian regime are already really angry. Number one, as I said, Steve Witkoff was having a conversation with the head of Mossad. Number two, they were hoping to get a deal with the Americans. Didn't happen. It's their own fault, by the way, the Iranians' fault. Number three, the supreme leader spent the last few days threatening to attack the Americans and the Israelis and the British for some reason. So, the foreign minister of Iran decided after the talks failed again, he's doubled down, declaring that uranium enrichment will continue, with or without a deal. The supreme leader, Khamenei, has also doubled down. He said he doesn't expect the talks to go anywhere. Now, they are trying to now to take the upper hand. They essentially want to be seen that we're not the desperate ones. Number one, we are going to enrich uranium anyway, with or without a deal. And we actually don't even think there's going to be a deal anyway. So they're trying to be cool about it, right? Meanwhile, they are threatening America and Israel and the UK. They are the same Iranian regime who came crawling back to the Americans because they thought that the Israelis could attack any moment. The reason that the Iranian regime came back, last week they cancelled. Last week they said, we're not going to do the talks. They walked out. Oman said, please come back. Iranians said, no. Then the Israelis said, well, we are going to be attacking Iran. We're ready. Then the Iranian regime came crawling back, and now the IDF are saying, well, we have a plan. And we're going to tell you only the part of the plan that the IDF have announced. They're not going to give you the actual details. Before we do that about what the IDF are doing, this is a statement. This is a really weird, angry statement from Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister of Iran. Threats from the rogue Israeli regime are nothing new, but the recent leak citing US officials as divulging Israeli plans for an unlawful attack on Iran and its nuclear facilities is alarming and warrants immediate and serious condemnation from the United Nations Security Council and the IAEA. He continued by saying, in a letter to the UNSG Guterres, the Secretary General, and IAEA Director General Grossi, I have called on the international community to take effective preventative measures against the continuation of Israeli threats, which, if unchecked, will compel Iran to take special measures in defense of our nuclear facilities and materials. So they are saying, oh, well, we're not doing anything wrong. The Israelis, the Jews are threatening us. You literally, every single day, they are saying we're going to wipe out the Jews and Israel. But apparently it's the Israelis who are threatening Iran, right? He said, my letter is a serious pre-action warning. The nature, context, and the extent of our actions will correspond and be proportionate to preventive measures taken by these international bodies in accordance with their statutory duties and obligations. Evidently, they wanted war criminal Netanyahu, desperate to dictate what the US can and cannot do, spares no effort to derail diplomacy and divert attention from his ICC arrest warrant. Ooh, so naughty. The Islamic Republic of Iran will not hesitate to forcefully respond to any transgression and will stop at nothing to protect its interests and people, meaning enriching uranium. They've already said that they're going to be enriching uranium with or without a deal. If the Americans somehow surrender after today's talks failing, then it will be very, very embarrassing on the administration in Washington. They cannot agree to any deal that allows the Iranian regime to enrich uranium. And the Iranian regime was saying, if there is no deal, we will still enrich uranium, which means there's only one way. There's only one solution. You're going to have to go in and dismantle the nuclear facilities. And you cannot, if you are President Trump, if the whole thing falls apart, you cannot allow Israel to take a lead. You are supposed to be taking the lead. That's the point. And I think that's exactly what President Trump continues to say. He doesn't want Netanyahu to take the lead. He says, if we have to, I'll do it. I'll lead it. I don't have to follow the Israelis. But the new intelligence obviously obtained by the US suggests that the Israelis are now preparing to strike the Iranian nuclear facilities anyway. Whether and how Israel strikes will depend on Jerusalem's view on the negotiations between the US and Iran. So that means that technically speaking, the Israeli government doesn't have to wait until all these talks, obviously the fifth round has now failed, but like sixth round or seventh round, any other attempt, they don't have to technically wait until it officially ends and both sides say no deal. Technically, that means Jerusalem's view, the Israeli government could basically have a perception after maybe the sixth round or maybe tomorrow that the talks are failing, we're going to go in. But if they have not coordinated with the Americans, technically, publicly speaking, the president of the US will not be happy. Although Steve Witkoff just had a meeting with the head of Mossad, so I'm pretty sure there is a definite coordination between the Israeli government and the American government behind the scenes. They don't have to tell us. They can't show us all the cards that they're holding, because if they show us, of course, the Iranian regime will see that too. So it will be better for the Iranian regime to think that the Israelis and the Americans are not on the same page completely. That the American government could get angry at the Israelis if the Israelis attack. That's the only way they can continue the talks. See the issue? Meanwhile, any Israeli attack on Iran, this is now coming from the intelligence from the IDF, is not going to be a single operation anymore. So a lot of people thought this is just going to be a one night, couple of jets going to Iran and hitting some military nuclear sites. This is going to be instead a sustained military campaign that will be expected to last at least a whole week. Now, obviously, this is just academically speaking. If there is going to be a 1 week operation in the skies over at the top of Iran, the Iranian regime will see that as a declaration of war, which means that the Iranian regime will start to technically try to attack Israel. I mean, the Iranian regime can't really destroy Israel because they don't have the capability and they keep failing every single time. Even their ballistic missiles don't really work because obviously the Israeli air defense system and the Iron Dome is very good. But they will try to basically expand it into the regional war. And the Iranian regime will do that just to blame Israel. So a whole week of operation is quite risky because of the consequences. But that's the only way you could actually dismantle the nuclear facilities. You can't really do it overnight. You can't just do, okay, let's just send 5 fighter jets from the Israeli Air Force and just wish for the best. You're going to have to make sure you hit every single one of them and you dismantle it. That's the only way. Now, meanwhile, the Operation Gideons Chariot, which is the full occupation of Gaza, continues. Now, over 85% of the Gaza Strip is now under full control of the Israeli Defense Forces. 5 divisions maneuvered today in the Gaza Strip. We can actually show you a short clip from that operation. So at this point, Gaza is now under the occupation of Israel. Finally, took about a year and a half, more than that actually. Let's go to that. Yeah. Now, the Americans have to obviously protect their own interests. They always have to defend themselves. That's quite clear. The Israelis obviously have a different issue because there's imminent threats against them but from all angles and all sides. Today in Gaza, the tiny remaining parts of Gaza that Hamas still controls, has been a bit of mayhem. In case you don't know, Hamas have started to steal humanitarian aid that's been transported into Gaza. Now, what they've been doing is they actually steal it, then they sell it at an expensive price to bring in the profit for their own organization. Let's quickly go to that video, then I'm going to explain what's actually been happening with the so-called humanitarian aid that the Americans and the Israelis are going to be working together over the next couple of days. Embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing. This is exactly the main reason why the US, under the presidency of President Trump, was absolutely spot on to come up with the idea to get the Israelis to work together to make sure that the Israelis take over Gaza completely. Then you get the American companies to work with them to bring in the humanitarian aid trucks to directly distribute it amongst the Palestinians in Gaza. This is the only way you could do it. And that operation is now going to start. This is what's been going on in Gaza over the last year and a half. Every single time Hamas take over, steal, they hide, they store the humanitarian stuff. They don't give it to people. They have to keep it for themselves. And obviously they sell the rest, get a profit. You know, it's just business, I guess. But this is why the new agreement has happened between President Trump and the Israeli government. Now, having said that, it's been tough for a lot of people because the terrorist attack in Washington, D.C., that obviously was against the two Israeli embassy officials. Not only was an attack on Israel and the embassy workers, but it was an attack on American soil. The pressure has been on both President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu. Now, President Trump and his team, with Patel as obviously the head of the FBI, they've been working really well. They've been robust. They are doing a massive crackdown on all the Islamists in the US. But there's also the reaction from the Israeli Prime Minister. Netanyahu made a speech responding to what happened in Washington. Let's quickly go to that, then I'm going to get your reaction in the live chat.
Last night in Washington, something horrific happened. A brutal terrorist shot in cold blood a young, beautiful couple, Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Milgram. Yaron had just bought an engagement ring for Sarah. He was planning to give it to her in Jerusalem next week. They were planning to start a new and happy life together. Well, that tragically did not happen. Yaron and Sarah weren't the victims of a random crime. The terrorist who cruelly gunned them down did so for one reason and one reason alone. He wanted to kill Jews. And as he was taken away, he chanted, "Free Palestine." This is exactly the same chant we heard on October 7th. On that day, thousands of terrorists stormed into Israel from Gaza. They beheaded men, they raped women, they burned babies alive. They butchered 1,200 innocent people and took 251 innocent people hostage to the dungeons of Gaza. A short time afterwards, Chancellor Scholz of Germany visited Israel. And after he saw the horrors, he said to me, "These Hamas terrorists are exactly like the Nazis." He was right. And if they could get away with it, these Hamas terrorists would have slaughtered every last Jew on earth. For these neo-Nazis, Free Palestine is just today's version of Heil Hitler. They don't want a Palestinian state. They want to destroy the Jewish state. They want to annihilate the Jewish people who've been in the land of Israel for 3,500 years. I could never understand how this simple truth evades the leaders of France, Britain, Canada, and others. They're now proposing to establish a Palestinian state and reward these murderers with the ultimate prize. Well, for 18 years, we had a de facto Palestinian state. It's called Gaza. And what did we get? Peace? No. We got the most savage slaughter of Jews since the Holocaust. You won't be surprised to learn that Hamas thanked President Macron and Prime Minister Starmer and Carney for demanding that Israel end its war in Gaza immediately. Hamas was right to thank them, because by issuing their demand, replete with a threat of sanctions against Israel, not Hamas, these three leaders effectively said they want Hamas to remain in power.
Is absolutely spot on. Yeah, of course, you can't really blame Hamas for thanking Starmer, Carney, and Macron. They did them a favor. But the fact that a terrorist organization is thanking you, you might have to look yourself in the mirror and say, are we the baddies? That's what Macron, Carney, and Starmer should ask themselves and each other. Let's get some reaction from you guys. By the way, don't forget, we have the TCTV app that's now been launched. Last night, we gave you guys a 50% offer. It was just a one-time offer for that one. But actually, today, we're giving you a different discount. We're giving you guys 25% on annual memberships. Use the promo code APP25. Go on 2c.tv. The link is also in the description. You get 25% of annual memberships of 2CTV Plus. You can also download the 2CTV app right now for free on the App Store, Android and Apple and all that. It will be your one-stop shop for all the news updates, news alerts. If you have 2CTV Plus membership, you also get access to documentaries and chat forum and all the other stuff. Just have a look at the website and the app and decide. Civil Defense UK, thank you for your super chat saying, Mr. Tusi, I pray that the IDF all the best wishes of the 17.4 million Brits who've voted the right way. That's the Brexit voters. Yep. Iran should be wary of the IDF and the true British. They should be, yeah. Don't know if they are these days. Darren says, can I get a happy birthday? Well, happy birthday, Darren. Well, I don't know how old you are, but I hope you're having a great evening and also weekend. Ivan says, how long before they wake up the sleeper cells? That's not going to be till the end. So we've been talking about the IRGC sleeper cells in the West, in the UK and other countries. That is, as far as we know, the plan, and this was leaked ages ago, from the office of the Supreme Leader in Iran. The plan that these guys have is when they know they are about to go down, they're about to drown, this is the end of the Islamic Republic, which is any moment at this point, that's when, out of desperation, they will activate the sleeper cells and they do a bit of terrorist activities all around the world, just, to send a message that don't forget about us. It's just out of desperation. There's no real plan. It's not like some sort of sleeper cells being activated to take over the West. The Islamists are not going to be able to take over the West like that. But it's simply desperation, the last attempt to cause disruptions. Stu says, you said that the Iranians don't want the US to free them. Yeah. But if they go in and squash the nuclear program, the locals can use the distraction and move in. Yes, so that's literally what I've been saying and the Iranian people have been saying. It's quite simple. The Iranian people have been consistent on this. They don't want Western globalists or Eastern globalists to liberate them. They don't want any of that. They don't want the Western troops to go and like Iraq in 2003 or Libya or anything like that. They say this is our fight. They simply need support. One demand is, to all the governments across the world, stop being friends with the IRGC. Stop treating them as some sort of partner. The United Kingdom and all the Canada and all the other countries. That's one. Number two, international media cover what we are doing. Give us some coverage. That's quite simple. Tell the world about the truth about Iran. Number three, they say, well, we do need support, which means there's an imminent threat inside the country, the Islamic occupiers. They've been occupying since 1979. And they chant, the Iranian people chant on the streets, our enemy is not America, our enemy is right here with us. Which says they want, in self-defense because there's an imminent threat, whether it's the Americans or the Israelis, in self-defense for their own interests, hit the IRGC bases inside the country. That will weaken the regime. That's it, just hit. It's a self-defense. hit the IRGC bases, nuclear sites, you have to dismantle them. Then the Iranian people will try to finish the job themselves. This is their revolution, it's their country that they need to take back, rather than somebody to come and be their savior in that sense. David says, I find it unbelievable that after all that has happened, people still support Hamas. Well, it's the same reason that there's still a lot of people who support communism, despite the fact that millions and millions of people died under communism. It's just a psychological problem that a lot of people have on this planet. The victimhood mentality and those who want to blame everything and their own problems and things that happen in their life on other people. These are the people who either become Marxists and blame everything on the successful people and those who believe in family values, or Islamists and anti-Semites who just want to blame everything on the Jews. People who just complain and complain and complain instead of actually taking responsibility. They always say, oh, well, it's the Jews, or it's that nice white Christian family with a nice house and a good career and nice children. They go to church and they have a good school. It's their fault that I am angry right now, that I'm failing at life. That always exists. It's part of humanity. There are some people who are always like that. They are always the victims. Ivan says, we are also drowning our sorrows in the pub. The virtual pub, not a real pub. That's the 2CTV Plus chat forum, guys. We have a virtual pub on Fridays. If you want to go, you have to be a member of TCTV Plus. Rocky Mama says from Canada. Sorry, Israel from Canada. True Canadians stand with our allies. I am so sick of our leaders' agenda. Thanks, Maya. Yeah, it's good to see good Canadians speak up and speak out against their so-called Prime Minister. And yes, just a reminder, not all Canadians are like the Liberal Party and Mark Carney or Clown Carney. Maya, as your father and other family is still in Iran, how would you feel if the worst kind of strike occurred? What is the worst kind of strike? There's only one good kind of strike. Could you reconcile that? It'd be a price worth paying for the greater good. Well, I can speak on behalf of my father, who is currently being held by the IRGC, who sometimes is in live chat. He says, I'm just delivering his message. Every time we speak, he says, Maya, you have connections in politics in Britain and in America. Please tell President Trump, don't know how, tell President Trump and tell Israel to bomb us. Like, Dad, you can't say that. Yeah, people like my dad and a lot of Iranians are literally asking for it. They say, just do it. Hit the IRGC. We know where they are. Their bases are quite clear. Hit them. And obviously, apart from my support for the Iranian people who want life and freedom, I always support anybody around the world who believes in life and freedom. But not just that, because the IRGC, I am their enemy. There's a fatwa on my life. There is an imminent threat from the IRGC. So obviously my bias is, it's controversial, by the way. This is my bias. I kind of don't like the IRGC. Sorry about that. That's my bias. That's my political bias. So obviously I am very much keen for them to go away. So yes, there's no price. Just go and destroy them. I don't care. If they want to kill me and my family, I don't mind if they go. William says there will never be nuclear strikes. Who says nuclear strikes? As we all know what that means. Is it some sort of euphemism? Is it some sort of sexy talk now? We know what that means. Yeah, there's not going to be nuclear strikes. That would be terrible. there won't be nuclear strikes. How are they going to... Okay, even if the Iranian regime have somehow successfully managed to make a bit of a secret nuclear bomb, like a mini bomb, it's unlikely that's going to work. And the problem is, they care about their stupid 7th century Islamist ideology, right? If they hit Israel, the whole region would get a little bit messed up, including Al-Aqsa. They don't want to hit Al-Aqsa Mosque. It's going to get to Mecca. The whole thing is going to get destroyed. The whole of that Islamic world is going to get messed up. It's not worth it. They just rant all the time. They don't care. Terry says, you don't like the IRGC? Most of the UK can't stand Labour. That is also true. Although I don't want to strike the Labour governments. That would be treason. Oh, God. Anyway, where are we? There's a couple of super chats again. Sorry, guys, I missed you again. Sankat says, good morning, Tusi. Love from China. Every time, Sankat. Every time. Love it. It's just an inside joke at this point. MT from the US says, people falling for the Islamist propaganda are the reason that this S is even continuing. I feel bad for them, but know that Hamas is using their blood, pictures and videos, as currency and would have already surrendered. Absolutely. You're right. Veerman says, full support to the IDF. As an Indian, IDF needs to take out those facilities. Yeah. Don't worry about the clowns like Starmer and Macron. Right, don't make Mark Carney feel left out. Mention his name as well. Yeah. I know he's not really memorable, Carney, but it still matters, right? Beam me up. Scotty from Australia says, are we allowed to say Islam is not a religion of peace yet? Well, it is a religion of pieces. Pieces. That's what I always say instead of pieces. Pieces. Multiple pieces all over the world. Persians, rise up. Israel will be here long after this religion vanishes. God bless Israel, the chosen people, promised land, the end. I love how you finished the end. It's like an essay. Yes, I agree. I've been watching the channel for a week and I have made my decision. Ooh. 2CTV is okay on my list. Well, that's good. Thank God I passed that test. I appreciate that. Well, thank you very much for watching the channel. I hope you continue to support. I hope it's informative for you guys as well, obviously. Hi, Maya. Take care of what you say on your channel because I would hate it if you got for hate crime. Yeah, imagine if the Islamic Republic sue me and take me to the Crown Court in London. We have to complain about my... Yeah, I know what you mean, though. I always say, I am uncancelable. How are you going to cancel me? To be fair, I do have a lot of skeletons in my closet, so... The thing is, they're actually skeletons. It's not a metaphor. I'm collecting them, The British Museum have been stealing things from the rest of the world. I'm now stealing things from the British Museum. Don't let anyone hold you back, Maya. You bring the truth, the most important thing in the world. Stand up to the bullies. Thank you very much. Minimalist Theatre. Meet Your Maker, love that name, says, why do Iran think they're the A side? They're probably deluded and really think they are a superpower. Well, I think they know they're not. I'm pretty sure they know they're not, but yeah, they do claim to be. Can you imagine these with a nuke? Bunch of clowns. Most of their people hate them. Fact. Yeah. There's one issue is competence and incompetence. One issue is, are you supported or not? So when it comes to the level of competence, the Islamic Republic of Iran has the same level of competence as Pakistan, which is not a real country. They're both terrible. But at least Pakistan still has, the Pakistani state, apart from the Baluch and actually most of the other factions as well, the proper Islamist Pakistanis still support whatever the Pakistani state does. The Iranian people don't. They don't support the Islamic Republic. Obviously, one day, the Baluch will get their liberation and full independence from Pakistan. Their fight back continues against the Pakistani terrorists in Balochistan. But and then the others, of course, Kashmir and everybody else, they shall be free from this fake country. Switch up from Jay saying, and the entire Middle East is on the US side now. Yeah, I mean, at this point, the pressure that the president used two methods. One was strength, and the other one was being charming. So he managed to do the charming thing with like Saudi and UAE and their existing allies. But he put pressure on Qatar, and then he did the charming thing with Qatar. He put pressure on Syria and Al-Julani, then he did the charming thing. Carrots and sticks. Well, usually sticks, then carrots. One by one, they're falling in line. One by one. And there's no guarantee it's going to be like stability and peace forever. But as long as President Trump is in power, and as long as he's on point, it's going well. Just about. It's going well. Syria has now been forced to agree to join the Abraham Accords. That is huge. Now, we know you can't trust Al-Jilani. The guy's a crazy nutter. But if you're cornering him, if President Trump is keeping an eye on him, then it's fine. The issue is President Trump is going to go one day. He's not going to be president forever, unfortunately. So if somehow you end up eventually with a Democrat, then the whole of the Middle East is going to be destroyed again, which means the rest of the world will see the effect, as usual. Trish, this Canadian boomer loves you and the 2C gang. Well, thank you, Trish, the Canadian boomer. I love it when the boomers actually embraced the word boomer, because it's become an insult now these days, apparently. It's the boomer generation. So, yeah, good generation. You took all the houses, but it's fine. Aaron says Derby Islamist mayor has a K in the UK, not arrested. Yeah, we're going to talk about that tomorrow, Aaron. Don't worry. We're doing more investigation on that. It's a weird story. Another super chat from Australia. Thank you very much. And Sankat is back. Iran is the largest natural gas reserves. This is Rizu. I think it means reason. The rest of the sentence is gone. It's okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to keep you guys posted. So a couple of things you need to now keep an eye on, which obviously we'll report. Number one, the full reaction from the Americans tomorrow after the 5th round of talks failed in Rome today, even though everybody thought there's going to be a deal. I knew there wasn't going to be a deal. The full reaction from the Iranian regime. Now they've gone back to Tehran. Let's wait for the Supreme Leader to have a meltdown. That's going to be fun. And within the next couple of days and few days, keep an eye on the IDF activities, because the Israelis could technically hit whenever. But I don't think they will hit without giving a heads up to the Americans, at least behind closed doors. Even if they want to make it seem publicly. We did it without the Americans, and publicly President Trump says, how dare Israel do this without me? What they say publicly is not the same as what they're saying behind closed doors. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Don't forget, we have the promo code AP25. You get 25% off annual memberships of 2CTV Plus right now. Go on 2c.tv, get the membership. You get access to documentaries, original series, chat forums if you want to talk to me directly and the others. And of course, download the app. You also get access to the news feed. We got the news alerts every day and everything else. It's a one-stop shop. Go download. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.